All right. Welcome back to another episode of Two Plain Sports. As you can see, it's me and Brandon today. Brum was not available because he was fortunate enough to go to the PGA Championship today and watch a hell of a final round to win for Justin Thomas to win the championship. So, good for that guy. Brum will be back on in the next episode on Wednesday. But for today, we're going to talk about some recruiting updates. We actually lost a wide receiver, so we're going to talk about that as well. Before we get into everything, as always, make sure you guys are subscribing, liking the video, hitting the notification bell, leaving a comment. Let us know your thoughts on what we're going to talk about today. We really appreciate everything as you for us, so just keep doing what you're doing. And if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you love Oklahoma football, hit the subscribe button. If you're just here watching in general, because even if you're a USC fan, because we have some of those here for some reason, you should still subscribe because I know some of you watch repetitively. So clearly you like what we have to say, or you at least like it enough to come back. All right. So let's get it started. So let's go. First topic today, we'll talk about the unfortunate departure of Ashton Cozart. We've been talking about what his recruitment's been like over the last week or two. It started all when Rivals posted that he was going to visit the Ducks this last weekend. At first, Ashton said that was not true. Not, who knows if what was valid or not in that initial report, but then he did end up visiting this last weekend. And it was enough. That one visit was enough that he did flip his commitment literally about 10 minutes ago as we're recording this. So really the first loss, the first decommitment or flip that doesn't go the Sooners' way since Venables was hired as a Sooners head coach. Brandon, what do you think about this one player, and what is it something that people should be alarmed about moving forward?
I don't think we should be alarmed moving forward. I think it's the guy we talked about a couple times now. He kind of, as soon as we found out that he was going to visit Oregon, it became a thing we were nervous about, and now it's just kind of true. It's a tough loss, as I think you and I mentioned the last time we talked about him. I mean, at the end of the day, he's a good player. I think he's going to be a really good player. So it does blow for Oklahoma. The additions of J.J. Hester and LV Bunkley Shelton is just even more big now. That we have some quality guys coming in for next year, because wide receiver was an area we're concerned about. So it's a good thing we got those guys. The thing that's weird to me is at times we were like, okay, we're good. Like there's nothing to worry about. He tweeted something or put an Instagram story like, people are cussing him out and stuff. He's like, this is showing your true colors, and it's not even true or whatever. So, we think we're good. Then he goes to his spring game, his high school spring game, and he's wearing OU cleats. This was like less than a week ago, it feels like. And then today, like literally 20 minutes ago, real time, he put on his Twitter that he had made the decision to go to Oregon. So I don't know when the decision was made for him. I feel like he knew for a while, so I don't know why if he was just trying to throw people off the scent or whatever. I don't really know. I don't get it. I don't know why that really matters. But it's a decent sized loss. It's really unfortunate. I was looking forward to him coming in. But we're on to the next one.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I think, well, like you said, I think Ashton's going to be good at the college level. He's got the skill, he's got the talent, and the Ducks, they're doing something up there in Eugene to get players to want to be at Oregon. If it's Dan Lanning, if it's NIL, a combination is more likely. Dan Lanning is a up and coming head coach, just like Venables, and he's young, so a lot of players, are more favorable of that. It seems like so far, a lot of young head coaches do get a lot of hype when they first get started at the head coaching position. So maybe that's got something to do with it, but as I was thinking about it last week, after Ashton posted, things about like how people were showing their true colors. And then, like you said, he still posted that there was still a picture of him with the OU cleats on for his high school spring game. I think that I don't want to say that he had already made his decision to decommit prior. I think this is kind of a two-part situation that, and it's not going to be a popular opinion, but I think that there's a flaw with the system of, if you're committed to Oklahoma, we expect you to be 100% in or 100% out. And the reason I say that is just because how recruiting is now. it's not really true for most players, especially when we're so early in the recruiting process still. Even for 2023, like their first day to sign a letter of intent isn't until December, right? If I remember the dates correctly. So there's still 7 months before they can even sign a piece of paper that says they're going to whatever university they verbally committed to. I think Venables and the staff in general just needs to adapt to what the environment of recruiting is now. Kids not only are a lot more connected, have more opportunity, and with like recruiting platforms like 24/7, On3, Rivals, like they're more hyped, fans are more involved, coaches are looking a lot to have more platforms to look at outside of just their own scouting, see what others think. And I'm not saying that they're 100% looking at these scouting platforms, but it's definitely a resource that I'm sure they're using because they don't have, you know, they don't have hundreds of scouts ready to look at specific players. And I'm sure that they use these as tools, like NFL teams use analytics to help out with decision making. But that's one part. Another part, as much as I love OU Twitter, I think sometimes with how reactionary it can be, like there's no reason why just because a report, true or not, and now we know that it's true, came out that this kid was going to potentially visit another school. As soon as that came out, I'm not saying it was most or all, but there were some people that were saying this kid is soft. He shouldn't be a Sooner. This or that. They're like talking bad about a 17-year-old kid whose talent and work has put him in a position to be able to make this decision, either if it's for the Sooners or not. So I think that's kind of a con against for some players, because if you're 100% for OU and you want to be a Sooner, the entire Sooner Nation is going to be behind you no matter how you perform, good or bad. People are going to love you no matter what. But if you're not for the Sooners, even if it seems like you're slightly like just 5% not all in, there's going to be people going after you. And that's something I pointed back to, like when Caleb Williams was before he officially decommitted or entered the transfer portal. I remember mentioning, if he is going to decommit, if he did enter the transfer portal, we were going to have fans that weren't going to be very happy about it, which neither were we, but they were going to start saying, he wasn't worth it. He's not that good. He sucks. He's this, he's that. Like, that's just the nature of the beast. We are one of the biggest fan bases, and that means there's going to be those bad seeds in it that are going to talk badly about these kids that get to make this decision, whatever it may be. And we just have to move forward with it. I'm not saying that I don't believe it's a reason to be alarmed, but there needs to be some, from the coaching side, I think they need to be a little bit more adaptive to how the recruiting world is now, because these kids have a lot more opportunity in NIL. Who knows if it's a part of this guy's decision, but NIL is going to be a part of some players' decision. And if Oklahoma just can't put up that money that other schools or are not willing to put up that money that other schools are, then we're going to be in the situation where kids aren't committing early like they are to an Alabama or an A&M or whatever other school it is, because those schools are willing to put up the money. And two, like fans, we need to just pump the brakes a little bit sometimes with our reactions and just look at the situation for how it is for these players. Like, they have their talent and their hard work is putting them in a position to make this not life-changing, but big milestone for them as 17-year-old kids. Like, let's just respect the decision and move on. And I think everyone should be a Sooner. Every 5-star and 4-star should consider Oklahoma as a landing spot, but that's just not the world we live in yet. Maybe Venables will change that in the next couple of years, but for now, unfortunately, we lost Ashton Cozart, and we just got to move forward, and hopefully we can get a few of the wide receivers that we've been talking about over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, you made a couple of points here, and I'm going to agree and disagree with some. I agree for the most part with this fan base. Once you get to campus through the ups and downs, we'll love you. We'll stick with you, with the exception for some reason being Spencer Rattler, who and granted, it was not all Oklahoma fans, but it's probably the same fans who shit on 17-year-olds in recruiting that were booing Spencer Rattler and calling for Caleb and all that stuff, which I know for a fact I was on this show multiple times saying I was 100% in disagreement with the way he was treated and the way that went down. Big Spencer Rattler guy, always will be. But I absolutely agree with the philosophy with you on grown men, like that to me is what bothers me the most. Is there's 45, 50-year-old dudes on Twitter who will literally at these 16, 17, 18-year-old kids at the oldest who are in high school and literally be like, you're a piece of shit. I hate you. We never wanted you anyway. It's like, dude, you're twice this kid's age. At the end of the day, they're making a decision about playing college football. Like, it's as much as we love it and we're passionate about this subject, like this is like these kids' actual lives. Like they are going to live it. So like at the end of the day, if they decommit and go to Oregon, like he's from that region of the country. There's a lot of things that make sense for him to go there. And anybody who's going to be bashing him on Twitter, they have their own issues in their life, and that's probably why that happens. Because as much as like the recruiting news can hurt, and it does hurt, you'll never catch one of us on Twitter adding Ashton, Cozart, or any of these kids saying that we hate them, and there's all that. That's not the game we play here. But where I'm going to disagree with you, and I agree that the nature of recruiting is changing 100%, like it is, like there's no doubt. But the whole, if you commit, we expect you to be 100% in. I like that philosophy. I'm okay with it because we're not mad with them visiting around. Like, take all the visits you want. Talk to the coaches, make your best decision. But after you go through the whole process and then you shake our hands, you look us in the eye and say, "Yeah, I'm going to be a Sooner." I think that Venables and staff should be entitled to. Okay, we got him. He's our guy. Like, he told us. It's kind of like your word, I guess. I mean, it's like, and I'm sure this happens in job interviews. It happens all the time. So, like, if you're looking for a new job and you accepted a position, and I'll start in 2 weeks, blah, 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 blah. There's a possibility that some other company will come out and it'll just be a better offer to you, and you'll take it, even though you had already accepted the one job. Then you got to call them and be like, "Sorry, I'm so sorry, something better came up." That happens, but it's not a great look. You know what I mean?
Agree. Yeah, no, 100%.
It happens, but it's not great, and it's rare. I feel like once you accept a job, you stop looking, and that's at the end of the day, they're kids, they're students, but their job, if you will, is to play football or to be a student athlete. And I feel like it's once you commit, you've accepted our job offer in a way, and you're thinking that it's done now. Like, you don't have to worry about it, and that's where I think I agree. Once you commit, it should be done. And I like that philosophy from Venables. Obviously, it's not going to happen every single time, but I like that philosophy.
Yeah, I hear you. And maybe the way I said it initially was wrong. I think you're right. Once they make that decision to commit, they should be in. I think the one thing that's a little different that from what OU's expectations are now to what they were before is once they committed before with the previous staff, like it or not, they were committed, let's say verbally, and then they were still visiting other schools. Like, now they were comparing, I've already accepted this job, and it's because it's a long time, right? They're still just visiting around, dating around. It's a analogy you brought in a lot. They're committed to one school. They're still dating around to others. That's just how recruiting is, right? Because they're looking to see if maybe they're fit better elsewhere. Now, I feel like because of how it is, right? Because we're saying, no, you should not be visiting other schools. It makes it more tempting to be like, well, maybe I'm not going to commit now. Maybe if I commit, I'll decommit, and then I'll see if it's a fit later. I think it's that part where you're saying once you commit, you can't go anywhere else to see if we're still beating everyone like you initially believed. I feel like it's just making it more enticing because, again, they're kids. They're 16, 17, 18 years old. When you tell someone that age you shouldn't or you can't do this, they're going to be more enticed to do it more often than not. Like, think about when we were all 17, 18 years old. When someone tells you don't do it, you're going to be like, well, it sounds pretty fun now that you're telling me not to do it. Let's go ahead and rock with that idea. Like, it happens. And as they mature, things will change, but they're not at that stage in life where they feel like they need to be fully committed. And I'm not saying that's all kids, and it's just some players that are going to be in that way. And I think that's where this recruiting philosophy can hurt Oklahoma in some ways, but really help us in others, because we know that once they're committed and the kids that fully go through and sign the letter of intent, we're more than likely not going to see as many transfers as other schools are seeing, because we know they were fully committed from day one.
Yeah, no, I see. I mean, yeah, I see what you're saying, and that makes sense because just the whole if you tell me not to do it, I'm going to do it. That's definitely a thing, and that I think you're right. It could end up hurting us in some of these kids recruitments, and just because kids will do it literally strictly because they've been told not to do it, and that will be the sole reason for them to do this stuff, and then may end up finding a better home in their eyes during that process. So, yeah, I mean, I agree with that. Overall, I like the philosophy still. Losing Ashton Cozart still it stings. Wish him the best at Oregon. He's going home pretty much. You can never really blame a 17, 18-year-old kid for going home at the end of the day. We all want to go home at some point. It is what it is. It's not the end of the Oklahoma football program. It's not the end of us getting receivers. It's one tough loss.
Yeah, I agree. So let's go on to the next guy. So done with bad news. Let's go on to good news. In the recruiting world, we're going to stay there. We picked up, or not picked up, but we are in the top 2 for 3-star safety Tyler Turner out of San Antonio, Texas, 6 foot, 180 pounds, according to 24/7. He released his top 2 late last week. So it's between Oklahoma and Oregon. He is lined up to visit Oklahoma during the Champion Barbecue here in about a week and a half or so, June 3rd. And then he will be visiting Oregon again. We're seeming to be in a recruiting battle with Oregon a lot of late. He will be visiting Oregon at the end of June 24th. Last season, as a junior, he racked up 130 total tackles, 5 for loss, 7 pass breakups, 4 forced fumbles, and brought a pick back to the house with 3 total picks on the year. So I think he's very talented. He's got the capability to play at the college level. But it's again going to be, can Oklahoma pull in? Can Oklahoma beat Oregon? And we seem to be in a battle with them as of late. What do you think about Tyler, Brandon?
Yeah, no, it sucks. We lost Cozart to Oregon, so maybe this one will go the other way, and we will get a commitment that sticks around for us. But you mentioned 133 tackles and 3 picks last year, 1 for a touchdown, 4 forced fumbles. He had 109 the year prior in 2020 with 5 overall picks and 2 forced fumbles. The dude, I mean, those numbers are ridiculous. He's got great size at 6 foot 180. He's a 3-star prospect, but I feel like that can change with the numbers he's putting up and the athletic ability he does have. Hopefully this one swings our direction. I kind of wish his first name was Timmy. Can you imagine getting Timmy Turner and General Booty? Man, that just good times with names. Unfortunately, his name is Tyler. We can call him Timmy if he commits on this show at least. No disrespect at all, obviously, but I mean, we all watched Fairly Odd Parents growing up. I mean, he would be a great addition. Another great size too. That's 6 foot 6'1", depending we're looking at, like that's good size for a safety. Dude can move. He clearly can tackle. Over 100 in 2020, 130 in 2021, and he has 8 picks in his career. So not only is he willing and has the ability to lay the wood and make tackles, but he's 8 picks as a safety. He's clearly got some good ball hawk skills. With 5 in 2020, 1 return for a touchdown, so that shows his ability to, once he has the ball in his hands, to make something happen with it. Hopefully this Oregon-Oklahoma battle swings our direction. I think I saw Key Lawrence, whenever he put the top 2 of Oregon and Oklahoma, Key Lawrence just tweeted back at him and said, "You saw the score." And I like that. Go Key. You love to see players recruiting other players, especially at their own position. He's obviously comfortable in his position with his role, knowing he's going to start. There's no insecurity there. He's trying to recruit another safety to the school. Maybe he'll mentor him. Hopefully he saw Key's tweet. Hopefully he watches the game and sees that we ran them out of the gym, and he does choose Oklahoma.
Yeah, I like that you brought up the 2020 stats because, like you said, he's clearly a guy that can put up the numbers. It seems like his school transitioned him in regards to how they were using him between 2020 and 2021 because he had 5 picks in 2020, like you mentioned, but no forced fumbles that year. This last year, like I mentioned, he had 4 forced fumbles. That's hard to say. So clearly he's versatile at the safety position. He can play strong or free. He can ball hawk or he can come down and just absolutely obliterate someone because he is a hard hitter. And that's something that it seems like this staff is prioritizing on the defensive side of the ball, which is different from the previous staff because the previous staff didn't even seem to care about actually completing a tackle. So we're going after hard hitters that can actually complete tackles, which is a nice change for this Oklahoma defense. And again, the versatility in these players seems to be something that the staff is really focusing on because they don't want to have a one-trick pony on their squad. They want you to come in with the ability to adapt to any sort of change that is put in front of you. And I think that's important, especially on defense, because defense is a lot of reaction. You never know what the offense is truly doing. They're studying film, so they have an idea, but you never know what they're truly doing until the play starts and it starts developing. So when you have a defender that shows that they can really adapt to the changes that are happening on the field, I think that's important because then we know we can rely on him, especially when it's crunch time or when we're getting to that important part of the schedule where, we really need this win or it's a big time game. We know we can rely on them to make the plays when they need to make the plays. And that seems to be what this coaching staff is looking for. And I think it's important, and I'm glad that they're doing it because we've definitely been in positions with the last staff where the defense, while they did make plays, they were also the reason why we were in close battles at the end of the day because the offenses with Kyler Murray and Baker Mayfield, even with Jalen Hurts, they were all extremely good. But the defense just wasn't able to pull in to keep up their side of the bargain, and now it doesn't seem like it's going to be that issue anymore.
Yeah, no, we're definitely putting an emphasis on changing that with kids like this. It's something we'll keep a close eye on as it progresses forward. But again, hopefully he looks at the game. Hopefully he sees key. Hopefully has some good visits. He's got to trust that. Although Dan Lanning is a defensive minded coach, and he's obviously a proven winner now. He just put together one of the, and I don't know how much of it's him and mixed with Kirby Smart. That's probably a combination thing. But what that Georgia defense just did last year speaks for itself. They won a national title, and then you saw how many Georgia defenders were taken in the draft. That's it's easy to sell that if you're Dan Lanning. But at the same time, we've got a guy who has won 3 national titles in his college football career. To Lanning's one, been in 4 national title games. That Brent Venables' resume speaks for itself too. I think Tyler Turner is if he's looking out for his career and the guys he's going to play under, I think he picked 2 pretty damn good schools to play on the defensive side of the ball. The guys that are going to be putting his hands on him and teaching him long term. I think it's going to be a really close battle. Hopefully Oklahoma wins out. We're due one that they took Ashton.
I think so. I think this has to be a battle we beat, and we beat him in the bowl game. I guess we took an L with this Ashton Cozart news, but now we got to get ours back with getting Tyler Turner's commitment secured. Hopefully soon. Hopefully it's after the Champion Barbecue, and he just says, "Nah, I'm not going to go to Eugene. Who even cares about that place? It's way too far." But let's go on to the next guy. The last guy we'll talk about today, 4-star corner Makari Vickers out of Tallahassee, Florida. We love going after those Florida boys right now with this staff. 6'1", 180. So similar size to Tyler. Makari put out his top 8 earlier or late in the week last week, Oklahoma being one of those. According to 24/7, it seems like Oklahoma and Alabama seem to be his top 2 schools, really out of the 8 that he released. And then according to Rivals, Oklahoma's kind of the team to beat. It seems like he's really a Jay Valai guy. Jay has I guess really put an impression on him in regards to his coaching and developing corners, which I think is still TBD. Most of you know my feelings on Jay. I think he's great. He just needs to show that he's consistent and can develop a player long-term at one school, but that's besides the point right now. I think Makari's got great ball skills. He in his highlights, he played wide receiver, corner, and I believe he returned some kicks, was playing on special teams every once in a while. So the dude as a wide receiver, if you guys are able to watch his highlights go on 24/7, he was mossing some kids. So he's got the athleticism to go up and get the ball, which is great, especially if he's going to be primarily recruited as a DB. He's got the jumping ability and he can really track the ball when it's in the air. Brandon, what do you think about Makari? And and our chances to secure his commitment soon enough.
No, exactly what you said. The fact that he plays kick returner and receiver specifically shows that he is not a brick for hands DB, a guy who's in the right position but can't catch the ball. He's the exact opposite of that. If anything, I think having experience playing receiver has to only help you a lot when playing defensive back, because you know the ins and the outs, you know the cuts that you can kind of anticipate when they're going to cut, when they're going to do this and that. So, I mean, it has to just help tremendously, I would feel like. So like that's huge. Just the fact that he can obviously do something with the ball in his hands if he's trusted as a receiver and a kick returner. He can bring a lot to that defense. Great size. Another dude is pretty fast. He got 6th in the 200 meter in high school and 7th in the 100. I think he ran a 22.95 for 200 and 10.95 for 100 something. I don't know. It's the theme again. It's big size dudes that are really fast and that have good ball skills. That seems to be what we're looking for in these defensive backs, and it's hard to not want those guys. Obviously, he's stamped. If it's come down to an Oklahoma-Alabama battle, is what it looks like. I don't know if it means anything, but when he put out his top 8, he did tag at OU football before any of the other schools. Hopefully, that is kind of showing us where his. And again, it doesn't mean everything, but at the same time, with these 16, 17-year-old kids, that's all you really know about them so far. If you're not on the coaching staff or like a paid inside recruiter. You don't really know other than what you're seeing on their social media. And again, he tagged every single school, but he mentioned Oklahoma first. I could be reading too much into that. We'll see. And again, I think you're seeing the importance of these position coaches. These kids, when they're going through this process, some of them, you're always going to have your guys who, no matter what, they grew up their entire life as insert school fan, knowing if I ever make it this level, I'm good enough, I want to go to whatever school that they grew up being a fan of. That's always going to happen, never going to change. They're going to have your true blue program guys that'll always be there. But I think more and more often you see these guys who grow close with a coach specifically. And most of the time it's their position coaches. They grow a close relationship with these position coaches. And then when said position coach leaves, it shows. And I've mentioned it multiple times. You don't have to be a program guy until you commit, until you actually play. That's when I think you should be a program guy. You should be a fan of that school the rest of your life. You should be a diehard Sooner, like the Baker Mayfields of the world. He's going to love Oklahoma forever. Once you make that decision to commit and play for that coach, then say he's there for 2 years or 3 years and he wants to play a senior year and Jay Valai leaves. At that point, he should be a program guy locked in. It's about Oklahoma, not Jay Valai. But until you commit, I don't think there's any issue. Or I kind of like it. Just like if I were a commit going like through that, obviously I would go to Oklahoma. I'm a diehard Sooner. But like if I didn't have any school in the fight, I would find the guy that I feel closest with, that I trust the most, that I think I could have a legitimate good relationship, a beneficial relationship to help my career out. I'm going to go where that guy's coaching, and it really doesn't matter where he's coaching. I would be a coach guy over a program guy if I didn't have a dog in the fight, but I'm so OU fan. Like I would be a Sooner no matter what. But like if I didn't have a dog in the fight, if I didn't watch college football growing up, it didn't matter. I would form relationships first and go where I feel the most comfortable. And I think that shows here. And hopefully Jay Valai can win out.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And with Makari, I think it's important to note that as of now, the publicly known, he is officially visiting the Sooners on June 3rd at the Champy Barbecue, like many other recruits. And he has been at Oklahoma since the hiring of Jay Valai. He visited back in March 24th. So it seems like the Sooners are in a good position. This will be at least the second time on campus. This time, I believe it will be an official visit. So he is going to get maybe a slightly different experience with this visit, and there's going to be a lot more recruits, right? So he is someone that I believe is going to be important to lock up, because that defensive back position historically has not been the greatest at Oklahoma, at least in the last like 5-10 years, right? We haven't produced big talent DBs. And I think he can help with making that transition over. You know, with this last class, we got Gentry in the mix, and I think he can play an important part in making that transition. And then with the transfers and CJ Colden and then Kenai Walker, I think they can help a lot. So this is just one of the first steps, and I think Makari is going to be a critical part. Hopefully, if he does make the commitment to Oklahoma, he can be a critical part in making that transition, especially once we get to the SEC, because we're going to need talented corners that can keep up with their receiver. Because if we have corners like we did, let's just say 2 years ago, where we had Trey Brown and Norwood, but there were times and situations where they just didn't play up to their talent that we know that they can produce. And I think these guys are going to need to play a little bit different. And I think that the coaching was definitely an issue before. I don't think it'll be an issue now. So hopefully Makari makes the commitment after the Champion Barbecue, since it doesn't seem like he has any other visits lined up. I think we really have to capitalize during that time and make sure that on June 4th, he posts, or June 5th, after he connects with Hayes Fawcett, he says, "Hey man, I need you to get me an edit that says I will be a Sooner." And then, stick with that through the football season. I think that's what we're going to see a lot of. Like Brent Venables mentioned, he'll get to see the fruits of his labor in the summer once more kids are able to visit him, since he'll have more free time.
I agree. Yeah, I was going to say the only thing I 90% agree. Over the last 5-10 years, we haven't really produced anybody. I was going to mention, with the exception of the Trays, and then you threw them in there, because the Trays, I think, are pretty good players. It's to be seen with DTY. Obviously, you just got drafted this season, but we're trending in the right direction, and I think it's only going to continue to trend that way with some real big-time defensive coaches on staff now, solidifying that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's all the guys we're going to talk about. Brandon, you want to go ahead and roll into your end of video?
Yeah, so let's just do best football-related either TV show or movie. What's your favorite? So is it like Friday Night Lights? I think that's one of the best series ever made. We watched that in college every day. The Blind Side, Remember the Titans, Invincible, about Vince Papale. There's a bunch of good movies out there / TV shows. What's your favorite football-related, either series or movie, or both? Why not?
All right, go ahead and do that in the comment section. I'm between Gridiron Gang and Remember the Titans. They're very different movies, but they're not really very different, just kind of different settings, but all about like how football can help create not just a good football player, but a good person. So those are my picks. Make sure to put that in make sure to put what your picks are in the comment section. Make sure you're subscribing, liking the video, turn on the notification bell. Let us know what you guys think about what we talked about today. How do you feel about Ashton's departure and going to Oregon? And how do you feel our chances are with the two defensive players that we talked about? And then I had a question for you guys. As we're growing this channel, we've talked about doing merch. We've talked about a website. Would you guys want to see more like general college football stuff, like talking about the Big 12 Conference? Do you want to hear more about where Oklahoma lands in the college football landscape? Where could we potentially be a top 10 team next year? Are we in a position to compete for playoffs? And maybe talk a little bit more about the whole college football landscape, and rather than specifically Oklahoma recruiting every single time. So let us know what you think. We appreciate you guys watching. We'll see you next time.